Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Sending blessings from San Antonio, Texas, land of the Tankawa and Humanos peoples, the original stewards of this land that I sit on, meeting you here in the Quantum for another creative conversation. And I want to welcome you all for this creative conversation at Musea Intentional Creativity Museum. We're sharing it live here in Musea's Center for Intentional Creativity Facebook page, as well as our Red Thread Cafe classroom, which we are in now, where we're featuring exciting, emergent, and creative conversations as part of Musea's museum and membership programming. I am your host, Milagros Soriano Rivera. I am a Color of Woman teacher certified in 2019. I am vice president for programming of the Intentional Creativity Foundation, a guild member, a co-creator for the museum, hearth tender in this space and many other spaces in the Museaverse. And it is a delight to invite you in to be with us. I want to thank you for joining us and also invite you to grab a cuppa, your favorite beverage. I have some tea here, your red thread, and a journal to document anything and gather any seeds that you want to harvest from my conversation today with our beautiful guest. This is an interactive experience, so we're inviting you to comment in the chat, in the comments on the Facebook Live feed. And we also will be supported by our beloved Sumaya Yates, she is the executive director for the Intentional Creativity Foundation, also a co-creator and my dearest beloved sister. So please feel free to comment and, share your insights or anything that calls to you, any common threads that have been tugged on. We appreciate your participation in this conversation. So this is an invitation for our membership and community as we explore the year-long theme as we journey around we're journeying around the circle and exploring creative transformation as one of the threads of creative sanctuary. And for this quarter, we've been exploring with our community creative replenishment and what that means to us and how our creative practices actually nourish us. So that is one of the weaves that we've been weaving and as part of our seasonal wheel. And tomorrow is June, so we'll be starting a new thread, but I won't spoil it for you. So most of our creative sanctuary exploration is about transformation, being centered around encouraging people to be with and consider inquiries of what it means to be transformed, what wants to be transformed within us, and what transformation it is that you are caused to bring through your creative activism. And just so you know what's going on, I'm going to be weaving in and chatting with our guests as part of our programming and what our intention is, and then making a few announcements about the wonderful offerings that we are inviting you to through the museum, and also invitation to membership if this calls to you, and being an activist for your own creative expression is what's calling in your heart, then we would love for you to become a member of our museum. So I want to extend the red thread of connection because one of our favorite legends and Proverbs is the Chinese legend that says that we are all connected through an invisible red thread since before we were even conceived and born, and that we spend our whole lives moving towards each other. And that also this red thread may twist and tangle and break, but it will never, it won't break actually, Sometimes we have to drop a thread here to pick up another, but it is always there. And we can always lean into it. And it is a symbol of protection and connection that we hold dear in our culture and community of intentional creativity. So I am extending this red thread of connection, inviting you to already be connected as you lean into this conversation with my guest and gather what it is for you to hold and explore. So I want to invite us to take a deep, nourishing breath in this moment and land in our bodies, knowing that we are being supported by community in love as we converse together. Mm. Now that you've arrived, I want to introduce our guest today, a dear sister to me. She is a graduate of Museos University's Color of Woman, Motherboard, and Red Thread certification programs. She's also a co-curator of Museum, and a woman who has been an activist for the creative expression of children and teens for a long time, especially in her work as a psychotherapist. And joining us from Mexico, it is my pleasure to bring on Dr. Rosamaria Polidura. Welcome, Rosamaria.
Hola, Milagros. Hello, Milagros. So I have a cup of red thread here with me,
Yes. Yes, yes.
and I just love to be here. And as you were sharing with our beautiful audience that is here and in the near future, or who knows how this quantum connection is working always. I have been co-curating and curating, with sisters from, my heart, my mind, my soul, my whole body, like this curriculum for the new generations of the world. And this
Mm-hmm.
curriculum is about hope, connection, creation, and beauty. And
Well,
I'm a
yeah.
psychotherapist.
Yes, you
Mhm.
are. And I'm so glad to be part of your journey and facilitating you and sharing your story and the thread that you hold so dearly in your heart. And yeah, and this is just a perfect example of the red thread never breaking. Like I met you in 2019 because you showed up for my graduation from Color of Woman
Yes.
and as support, and you had graduated the year before, and those memories are just as fresh as yesterday. You've been doing this work for over 5 years, and just watching you know how you actually hold intention and creativity, how you live into it, and your passion for bringing it to the children, in particular to the teens and the youth. But we're going to get to that in a minute. I just want to definitely tell you again with all of my heart, gracias, hermana, for being here with me today.
De nada,
Yes.
Milagros.
So, share with our audience a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what your profession is. Tell us a little bit about your passion.
So, I have been a psychotherapist for more than 20 years, and I began working with women. And it was really interesting because I noticed that, when they were working with me, it was like, oh, if they, in some way have, when they were younger, someone that will really, hold their hand in a different way, or be there for them in a different way, maybe, um, they could have a different, life or existence, even though, psychotherapy was working for them. I was wondering, I'm always, like looking ahead and looking forward, and looking for a hopeful future. So I was wondering about working with children and with teenagers. And while I was, doing my PhD, I just was in love, and I am in love with, working with children and teenagers and psychotherapy for them. And then suddenly I discovered that schools were sending mostly the children and the teenagers because, something was happening there. And it's not about schools or parents. It's about, I guess, that the culture and the system that we are in. And so I was really curious about how can I can impact for an education as the art of hope, for them. So I began to explore different threads, and one of them was creativity. And then I found Shiloh, and I found her beautiful offer about intentional creativity, and that really empowered me as a woman, so I can empower the new generations. That's what is really residing inside my heart. And wow, it has been quite a journey. And right now I am exploring like a very specific curriculum to work with teenagers and with children. And I am also working within the school system, but from this perspective that they are beginning like to be curious about it. So it's like different threads. That's the way my life usually is.
That's so wonderful. Wow. It's just, yeah. And I love preparing for this conversation with you, because even in our, preparing and getting to know each other on this level, and listening to what you wanted to bring today, we were able to connect on so many levels, and such of what you're teaching and such of what you're bringing into the world. Like, I wish I had that when I was growing up, and I just want to honor you for that passion, for that love and caring, um, to do this work, because it's not easy work. But when love is at the center, it just comes through. And you're definitely, definitely an example of that. Um, let's see. Yeah, so someone put in language of nature coming through for dreaming and waking life. What are some of the sacred archetypical forms you can recognize as patterns? Reflect
Yes.
on a deeper meaning. Yes. And what is life
Hmm.
if we're not actually reflecting on it? And that's what intentional creativity is all about. Mostly it's about us being aware of how we are moving in the world. Whenever we take an action, whenever we move, whenever we make something with our hands, whenever we imagine into something, setting an intention, but not just saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to be about it, in a sense where we're aware of what we're bringing into the world on an energetic level, and how it is impacting us as well as others that receive what it is we bring into form. Um,
Yes.
I want to invite you to tell us what brought you to intentional creativity.
Oh, wow. I guess that I just connected with Shiloh through talking with Amy Ehlers. And the minute that I heard her voice, I was like, just like there. I was like, I want to do Color of Woman. And it was really interesting because I told Shiloh when she was doing the interview with me that I was not familiar at all. Even I was very afraid when I was a little girl or even as a teenager to draw or paint a single line. And I was 45. And I was not afraid for some reason. And then, the minute that I was painting at Teotihuacan, Mexico, with a teacher that is there, her name is Emily Greaves, I was just smelling the canvas and I was, in love with the brushes and I was just letting myself there. And, you know, just a couple of months after that, I did my muse, I did a face, I get all this inspiration, access, and I was 45. So I was like, oh, so I was right on about creativity, but from this place. So I am just really wondering about the beautiful access that, if I did that and we are doing that as, adult, women, what children and teenagers can do. Wow, can you imagine that?
Mm.
So I was, during a retreat, the Glow retreat, that is one of Charlotte's offering a couple of weeks ago. And I was really curious about, a kind of very simple drawing that is all over my paintings. It's like a petal. And then I was seeing, at the petal, and then I discovered that it looks like a DNA, a strand. And you can see here at my painting that is from Motherboard, that I just, all this information, I was receiving it. So I was like, wow, in some way, the way that we, and that's scientifically proof, the way that we interact with the environment is going to impact not only, our physical body, but our emotions, our thoughts, our, whole being, our whole energy, independently of, what you believe in. So if you create with intention from this place, you begin to really impact in a very deep level, the way that you are and that you interact with, your whole environment. So I just cannot wait to see this tool, in the hands of the new generations, so they could create like amazing things. So I am really inviting, uh, not only me, but how can we hold our piece of red thread, our piece of, what work we need to do, what is our great work, because we all have our great work, to bring this tool to the new generations with
Mm.
so much love and compassion.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I like the way you define great work. For those who are not familiar with intentional creativity, as teachers, even at, anyone that's doing intentional creativity, but one of the things we focus on is our piece of the red thread is when we extend the red thread, we're inviting you to be connected and we're a whole, and each one of us is holding it. However, as you recognize and become aware of you being part of this beautiful connection, global, ancestral and futuristic connection as well, each of us is only responsible for our piece, and your piece is what's calling and burning in your heart, because we all come in with a piece and a sacred responsibility, and it's becoming aware of that responsibility and actually nourishing it from the heart and bringing it out into the world, that is what our peace and great work is. And I love the way you so lovingly described that and defined it and what it's meaning for you, as you've been exploring that even deeper during the Glow entrepreneurial program. So that's been awesome, and it's been great witnessing that too. Um, yeah. Oh, and we
And
mentioned. Go ahead.
I just want to say that before, we were into, this live conversation, you said three words that were really important: awareness, choice, and action. And that creates magic, or what looks like magic, because that's, creating with intention. So I guess that everybody has that capacity, like really everybody.
We do, and Shiloh teaches us as well. Shiloh Sophia is the curate of the museum as well as the founder of Intentional Creativity, and her great work is to inspire others to find their great work. And we've been so privileged and just so honored to have found her, have to become aware of the red thread and our piece in the world. And it looks different for different people, but it's all the same thing. It's just about how we choose. And like you said, whether we know what's happening or not, it's happening. Because even before I became aware of intentional creativity, I was creating from a place of need, but also from a place of desire to express my
Mm.
love to beloveds, family members. And because of my situation, I didn't know and I didn't have the resources to go out and buy gifts for Mother's Day. So I decided to use what I had at hand, and I cut up some cereal boxes and I made some handmade jewelry that was personal to each of them. And when I realized and witnessed the love and appreciation they had for something I made with my hands, and how much they treasured it, because they knew that I didn't go to the store and get something commercial that 50 million other women might have received for Mother's Day. Um, that's when it hit me, and I knew that I was onto something. But it
Mm-hmm.
took me years fast forwarding before I found Shiloh Sophia. and intentional creativity and the red thread community and understood. But I knew in my heart, once I heard her voice and I saw the first teaching I took with her was chocolate for the muse. And it was something I had never seen before. And what it was the
Mm.
sacredness of it, the actual her making and having 2 cups of tea, one for her and one for her muse, and just reminding you, don't put your paintbrush in it. Lord knows we in the
Yes.
community have definitely drank a little bit of paint water here and there. But not being aware of it, it's still happening. And that's also what we invite, that is sometimes as people come into the community and explore the different teachings and take the different classes, we get stuck on wanting to understand and knowing all the steps and getting it perfect. And I tell everybody, I've been doing this for 5 years and I still don't know what I'm doing. What I do know is that I'm showing up and the magic is happening. This
The
painting
magic is
is
happening.
actually from my glow painting. This is actually my painting from glow. And it's
Okay.
so funny because I've got my nails done for I'm
Uh-huh.
going to Sonoma on Friday to attend the Living the Truth Film Festival, featuring award-winning filmmaker Pratibha Parmar and also Alice Walker. She is a beloved elder in our community, an elder and teacher for Shiloh Sophia, and also a Pulitzer Prize winning now writer. And just to be able to claim that as part of our lineage
Mm-hmm.
is just so powerful. So, and it's funny, I'm sitting there looking at my nails. I just got them done yesterday and they matched the neon in my painting. I'm like,
I
so
saw that.
that's how it works.
Uh-huh.
It's like the muse gets to choose. She's like, no, we're going to go with our glow. So this is me claiming my glow energy and carrying it with me to Sonoma. But yeah, just even if you don't know it's happening, but it's the awareness, the choice to be aware and be with that awareness and setting the
Mm-hmm.
intention and also taking action.
Yes.
Definitely.
As you were talking, in Mexico we have like a saying about that the grandmothers they were cooking with love, cocinan con amor. So the
Cooking with love.
tortillas, for example, keep cooking with love, and actually it tastes completely different. We know that Charlotte has like an amazing chef husband, Jonathan. If you are lucky to try one of his meals, you will be like super lucky. But it's like he puts all this love and all this intention, and I was just witnessing him, the way that he carries the medicine. So it's not only painting, you can cook, and I think that you can do anything. You can be an engineer, you can be a doctor, you can be whatever you choose, but create that with intention and with love and hope
Yes,
for us and
definitely.
humanity and the planet.
Oh, yes, yes. Something as simple as just going for a walk and dedicating that walk with the intention to hold up high those who can't walk. I've done that before where I've gone on a walk and I've dedicated to someone I knew who was, bedridden and, paraplegic, couldn't walk. And I decided for Mother's Day,
Mm.
this person, I would honor them by taking a walk because I could and taking those steps with them in my heart. And that makes you feel so good. And it actually cultivates a sense of wellness when you know that you're doing good in the world without ego and you just want to take an action that the other may not know, but just you knowing that you put this love into the world, knowing it'll be received, whether they know it or
Mm-hmm.
not. It's just how powerful is that, as a human
Yes.
being? Like, how powerful is
Yes.
that? So, Rosamaria, I want to ask you, why does working with children and teens matter to you so much?
Because they are the future. you know we are carrying this medicine, and it's like fantastic that we are getting to know this medicine at 45 years old, or 50. I'm 50 right now, or maybe younger, or a little bit older. But I'm so curious about giving this powerful tool to the new generations, because they are the future. And I know that Musea carries a 500 vision. It's not only what is happening right now. We are co-curating this beautiful vision for the future. And our future are the new generations. And I really want to empower. Right now, I want to work one on one, and I know that parents or grandmothers or the people that is caring for the new generations. Usually, as a psychotherapist, they look for me, to get a previous talk. So I would love to do that, and it will be super powerful. And one more thing that you just said, Milagros, is about, you know, for me, I have the vision of transforming world education through intentional creativity. And it's like a big vision, but I am only holding that piece. And I know that out there, I have like other women, men, and whatever gender you're identify with, that will want to carry this medicine and this beautiful tool to the new generations, even though I am not here, even though I am gone.
That is so beautiful. I love that because a lot of times before I found intentional creativity, one of the questions I was asked, I struggled through, bad relationships, unhealthy situations. And I used to always ask the question, why was I born? I know I was born for more than this, but I didn't know what it was. And I didn't know how to actually be with the inquiry. It was just out of frustration and suffering that I always asked that.
Mm.
But one of the things I knew is that I wanted to leave my mark because I was always in tune to my mortality. Having experienced so much death in my family, I lost two sisters in 1 year, a brother like 3 or 4 years before. My father passed on when I was only 10. So that was my first close up experience with death. But so I guess, and there's a part of me always felt like I don't want to just go through life existing and not
Mm.
being relevant. I want to leave something behind. I want to be remembered. I want to make a contribution. And I knew that there was always something more. And intentional creativity gives us that. And we have this vision of this 500-year plan and circle that we know that what we're creating now is actually seeding the future, and we'll always be held, and we leave it, and those that come after us will hold us as ancestors one day, and we can support them from that other realm and that other place. It's a beautiful thing to know that you matter now, you matter then to our ancestors, and we're going to matter to the future and helping
Yes,
them
and
matter.
I just want to share that the land that I am right now is Mexico, but specifically this land is called Catilco. And here they found like small sculptures of women, like from 100 years ago or even before that. And it was like a very matriarchal culture. That's what I from a serious paperwork from a PhD from Central America, I found that. So in some way that I don't have like a direct lineage with them. I am here in this land that had that energy before, even though all kind of things happen after that. So it's like knowing that the earth is filled with so much love and compassion, and we are like the stewards of carrying that into the future. So it's like, yes, archaeologist and
Mhm.
seeing the future.
Yes, and that is the theme of our next legend as well. It's called
Yes.
Archaeofutura. So that's beautiful because, again, this is what this is about. Is about connecting with the future because the past is only there, but if we don't acknowledge those who came before us that set the foundation, then they're forgotten. But in our awareness and acknowledging them and honoring them, and also becoming and choosing to be stewards and always remembering them so that their story can continue to be told, their energy can continue to be held, then we're actually living in the future. We're honoring the past, and we're also bringing it into the future so that that past is not forgotten. You know, there were people that came before us, and it was them who created so many different cultures and practices and rituals that we, lean on today as part of our creative expression, as part of our great work in connection and collaboration with nature all around us. To know that there are peoples that honored the trees and the air and the water. Right now, I'm here, and about 2 blocks away from me, there's a creek. The main road behind me is called Petrenko Road, but there's a small creek that runs through it, and it's called Petrenka Creek. You know, there's
Oh.
not a lot of connection to it with anything, but I know it goes into into the San Antonio River, and you have the River Walk, which is, you know, a place that a lot of people visit here, which runs right underneath the Alamo. There's so much history there. You know, and this is the
Yes.
same water that fed so many people, the soldiers who fought, the indigenous who were here, everything, you know, and just acknowledging that little piece when instead of looking at it, oh, it's just, you know, it's just water. No, but
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
because I'm in this community, in this way of being called intentional creativity, that connection just feels so much better to me. When I go on walks, I know that I'm honoring the water and I'm remembering the water and I'm thanking the water, um, and praying for its cleansing, you know, that others might see it and want to heal it. But, you know, allowing it and thanking it for the support it still can give to the grasses and the wildflowers and the butterflies that I get privy to see, and the mushrooms that grew that I posted in our community. You know, just be able to, I'm like, I couldn't do that if the water of that creek wasn't flowing in the ground, you know, and just being able to live and be in connection with all of that is just so amazing. You know, we're not just existing in, you know, in the matrix and the rat race. We're
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
actually collaborating and being present to the world around us and all of creation and
Exactly.
becoming part of it. So it's really cool. And I love what you said about the speed in which intentional creativity also works, because as a psychotherapist, people pay so much money for therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And not that talk therapy is not a good thing, but creativity activates it in such a way that it becomes instantaneous. And it's been
Yes.
proven, and we've witnessed it. And I know that that's another
Yes.
thing that's driven you to this vision and this body of work, because intentional
Mm-hmm.
creativity works quickly. It works
Quickly.
very quickly.
Yes, I have been using this as a tool, to work with children, not as a whole curriculum. Right now, I am, having this beautiful curriculum about uh, the blooming adventure, that I am really willing to explore, one on one with, a teenager, uh, with children. But even, just as a tool, how can they access information? It's like maybe they are, we are talking about something, difficult that happened to them, and then they are doing this kind of drawing, like moving the pen while they are thinking about something. It's just about, for example, I'm thinking about this conversation, and for some reason I did, even I was not thinking about it, I did this sign that is for music. So they access something magical, and they give me like an answer that I was not expecting, that is better than the answer that maybe I can hold as the psychotherapist. And they know their own medicine. I create this space, this magical musical space. So I am so surprised that I just did this. Honestly, I was not thinking about it. I
Well,
was like, whoa.
you were thinking about thinking, and that's what we call metacognitive drawing.
Yes.
So metacognition is when you think about thinking, and metacognitive drawing is when we think about thinking while moving a pen or a brush. And what you explored is exactly one of the most powerful tools that we use for everything. It's part of our cafe. You get up in the morning, you make some tea, you make some chocolate, coffee, and you sit with a pad and just, you know, again, for those who are listening and are also participating, you may now have your journals in front of you, and you're just actually doing metacognitive thinking and metacognitive drawing while you're listening to us, and you're not really looking for an answer. You're just actually engaging with the energy and opening up all of your intelligence systems to respond, and the answers will come to you in time, maybe just a word. And you can also go in after this broadcast and amplify it even further by adding color to your page, and then writing one little phrase as to what message you received, because something that you're listening to, noticing how it's landing in your body, because you're using your heart, your mind, your gut, your vulva, every part of your body, your fields, all of this is engaging. And this is what it is. Intentional creativity is about inviting all of our intelligence systems to work with us in collaboration, in coherence. Once you become aware of all of them together, then you can actually lean into things with your heart, and you'll come up with the best and most authentic answer and response from your truest voice. Right?
Exactly.
And when we give that power to children and to
Hmm.
youth, because a lot of times as adults we don't listen to kids, you know. And I mean, as a grandmother, I don't know how to relate to my grandchildren. As a child, I didn't know how to relate with people and kids my age. As a mother, I struggled with raising my children because I didn't have that as a child. I didn't know how to bring it into motherhood. And as a grandmother again, but I remember when I had to do my soul work project for my graduation, I had invited a bunch of women from work. They were all enthused about coming. I had my husband grilling and cooking. I promised them they'll have drinks, and not one of them called me to tell me they weren't showing up. So here I was with the altar set, roses and beautiful things for these women, preparing space for them. No one showed up. No one told me they weren't coming. And this was scheduled for Saturday. So Sunday, I woke up a little bit upset, and I said, you know what? This is about me doing my great work. They're lost.
Okay.
I'm going to do it anyways. So I told myself, I'm going to go to my son's house, who lived 8 minutes away at the time, and I'm going to do it with my grandchildren. Now, I've never worked with children before on this level before. So it was scary because I didn't know how to translate it and make it a little simpler for them and a concept that they can understand in that context. But we did it. We made masks together, and it was so funny because each of their masks came, it ended up in the same color of the shirt that they were wearing. And I actually was able to use that and document it in my initiate book. And I know that that'll be something that I can hold and have is recorded forever, you know. So intentional creativity gave me that tool where I can relate to my kids and talk to them and see how they felt empowered and what they want to bring into the world as they made their mask, you know, their medicine mask of what it is, you know, whether it was power, they wanted to be cool, they wanted to be, you know, included. It was beautiful. And we sometimes disallow children, and we just don't give them relevance or think that they can think for themselves. But they're not going to be children forever. They're not going to be, you know, they're the future.
And you said something really important. They access their own values, and their values may be in a metamorphosis because
Mhm.
that's the period that they are in. But there is a way that they can access their values, and from those values they begin to create like a context for their life. That is like the great work, the big project. But then they can find like small projects to create that big project about their existence, that is
Mm,
beautiful and sacred.
yeah, this is really, really beautiful work. Really beautiful work. I'm actually looking forward to my grandchildren coming back from Hawaii. They've been away for 4 years, and they're returning to San Antonio in July. So I'm really looking forward to, with your inspiration, to lean into that and
Hmm.
learn how to relate with the children more with intentional creativity as my tool, so that I can learn the language and learn through them, because the youth have so much to teach us. Sometimes we think that
Yes.
because we're adults we know it all. No, my son counsels me all the time, and we have old souls out there that have been here before, and they know they've been here before, and we need as adults to learn to listen to the children as well.
Yes, yes, and intentional creativity is a beautiful and simple way. You don't have to be like the perfect artist. I was not even painting before this. So you can just relax, pick the magical brush and get in, even with a pen or just with simple tools.
Simple
You don't
tools.
need
Grab
like
a
more.
crayon, grab a Sharpie, grab a pen, a pencil. You can do it in the air.
Mhm.
Make it a
In
dance.
there. Yes,
Make it a dance. It's totally somatic. It's about
yes,
including your whole
somatic.
body and moving that energy, and whatever you have in your hands, whether it's your fingertips, just know and actually visualize that energy moving and being put
Yes.
out there. And it's a real thing. It's such a real thing. I've created paintings over the last 5 years, and I sometimes amaze myself that I can still see the messages coming through and the things
Oh
actually
yes.
coming into form, like now. And I painted into that like last year, the year before, and I'm like, okay, this is what's coming through. I don't know where it fits in, and I get busy with life, and then all of a
Hmm.
sudden something like this conversation happens. I'm like, bam, there it goes.
Yes,
There it goes.
because one really interesting thing is that until you take action, then you are going to be informed for the next step, and that's for real. And it's, with everything. Imagine that, you are brooming the floor. You may have a plan, but as you are moving, you know uh, your magical tool, how to, clean the floor. It's as simple as that. But you put like
Hmm.
your whole body, your whole, um, you are there in
Yeah.
the moment,
Yes.
creating magic.
Hmm. Wow. So you've seen a really deep impact with the way it's been impactful for the youth that you've worked with.
Yes.
And you also talked about how it's infinity mind in a sense, because you hold the
Hmm.
child or the youth, but you also have to hold the parent,
Yes.
because the two go
That.
together, because
Hmm.
you can't treat a child unless you have permission from the parent. And you also want to, I would assume that as a psychotherapist, you want to also arm the parent and educate them as to how to continue
Of
that work at
course.
home, so
Yes.
that they can also understand the changes and the shifts are going, and they can also
Of
open up to
course.
hearing the child, because it's not just like they come to you and you have your session and you make them have this great breakthrough, then they don't know what to do with it when they get home. And sometimes the
Of
parent
course.
needs to know how
Hmm.
to, so it's an interaction and interweaving. And I love how the work that you're doing is actually holding both end.
It's both and usually as a psychotherapist, you work with a triangle, and the school system in some way is included in that. It's like the school, the parents, or the tutors, and the child. And the child or the teenager is never, like apart from that triangle. So it's a beautiful way that we are weaving something different. It's about weaving literally a new culture of hope, connection, creation, and beauty, literally, through intentional creativity.
Yes. Yes.
And we
You-
already have a museum. So it's like, wow.
I love it. Um, Talk about the your vision for creating programming for teens in the context of the 500-year plan, and where you see
Wow.
yourself as a member of the Cura Council.
The correct. Okay. So I was working with Shiloh and other sisters, and Stella Mac and Sumaya, that is here supporting us behind the scenes. Um, about my great work, and I have been holding this thread of transforming world education for the last 6 years. So I was sometimes, it like you're sharing, it goes like it is not a straight line. It can entangle. Sometimes it goes like this. It moves in different ways. So I have been exploring holding my thread. And when Shiloh shared about this 500-year plan, I was like, whoa. So it's only 6 years. Why am I in such a hurry? Yes, I am, because that's the way I am. But it's like, okay, I have been doing my work very, very, very well, So when I saw that, I really relaxed into my whole body. I really relaxed into myself. And, everything you know began to shift with the vision that I have been holding. And I know that it's going to go through a metamorphosis, and it's going to create new forms as I interact with the new generations and the parents and the school that I am going to work soon, this next school cycle. So I am really curious. I know that I am just seeing part of it, and I am a big visionary. So let's work together, and let's hold our threads as people that is looking and caring about the new generations in so many ways.
Mm, beautiful. Thank you for that call to action, that call to awareness, um, and that call to be a cause for our youth. It's really powerful work, and yeah, just to know that what you're doing today is not just for now, and it doesn't end when you leave this realm and this field of existence. You step into your
Mm-hmm.
future. Um,
Yes.
it's always connected to you. Oh,
It's,
wow. And you are a visionary. And I tell you, we had a moment that I shared before we got ready for this, and I let you know how I feel about your energy and about your vision and why I was looking forward to us having this conversation. Because if there's anybody else, I think you're one of two people that I've engaged with that is like really in that futuristic place that actually I feel can match Shiloh's energy with talking about intentional creativity in that way. I'm more a little bit more present in that present thing, but you really are in it, you know, you're really in it. And I love it. I love it. I love it. And I can't wait to, you know, embrace that for myself. And I know it's real. I know it's there. Um, my language hasn't embraced it yet, but that's what this creative conversation is about, so that I can bring people like yourself on and we can share that, you know, and
yes.
can go deeper, you know, because everybody doesn't know
Yeah.
everything and we all have our own content, our own way of working, our own way of being, our own language for it. Um, and and yeah, it is very futuristic work, you know, so we can just, you know, a lot of times people tend to just worry about tomorrow so much that they're not present to this moment, but we can always work into the future in this moment and let it take care of itself and know that it'll meet us there because it's not
Yes.
linear. It is all quantum. And we sometimes ask in intention creativity when we come up with an idea, like, oh, we get frustrated because we have a plan and we want something done now, now, now. And we're like, oh, it's not happening. Why? The question is, if not now, then when? It's gonna happen. We have to
Yes. And it's
let go of
happening
the
now.
outcome. Yep, let go of the outcome, and when it
Yes.
happens, you're like, okay, I'm ready.
Yes. Yes. I saw Shiloh a couple of years ago saying about, I am going to have a museum. And I was like, why? And then, I'm here. So I'm part of, the museum, and, and it takes a village. It's a collaboration, and it's happening now, as we are speaking. And
Mhm.
I'm sure that someone is going to see this conversation when, the now is over, and they will have their now, and they will get some, like, their own seeds, their own, way of digesting this conversation and then self-expressing something.
Yes, I mean, yeah,
And
and I'm with
that's what
you.
musea is all about,
Yeah, I mean, because she talked about starting a museum, and she did it. She talked about starting a university, and she did it. And I mean, every time she sees something and speaks it into the universe, it happens. So I've already learned to, and again, that's what we do with our paintings. We'll paint something and then we don't know what a symbol means in the moment. And it might mean one
Mm-hmm.
thing when we first put it down on the canvas because we're that engaged. But then when we finish, we have to step back away from it and keep coming back and listening.
You're cutting a little bit.
Am I? Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
we're losing a little bit there. Are you there? Did I lose you? Okay. Bear with us while we, let me see. I can see you here, but it's a little frozen.
Hi.
Yep, you back?
Milagros.
Yep.
uh, Milagros froze a little bit. No,
Okay.
you were frozen a little bit, but
No problem. We will get it
yes, I'm
working.
back.
Just give us 2 seconds. You're back.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Yes, I was seeing
Great.
myself, but I was kind of, but
Yeah,
okay, we are
it's
here.
technology. I think the energy that we're creating is just ugh, grounding. I'm rubbing my feet on the ground.
Okay.
I'm grounding.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of times we'll paint things, and part of the process is to we use the paintings to inform us. We use the paintings to inform us,
Yes.
and we oracleize it, and we gather the information that's meant for us and the messages to come through, and they become portals from the past and into the future.
Yes, because you are able to access, this vision, and then you can have the answers that are right for you in that moment to take action. Can you see me, Milagros?
I'm here.
We're frozen. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks.
Sorry.
So you're
It's
able
part
to
of.
access the vision. Go ahead. What was your thought?
No, it's about you create with the painting. So imagine that a child is engaging with that painting, and it's informing their own process, and they can engage with their environment. How it's going to work, it's like, as the child is taking action, it is going he or she is going to know which actions are appropriate, to their timing and to their own environment. They will have like a completely different voice because it is coming from an archetype. Usually this is not with a face. I have one with a face here, but I can even ask without the face information from the painting, and it's going to come in. I am almost sure that if I give my pen to the paint right now, a different message is going to come through after this conversation. But I
Mm-hmm.
have like the image and the energy outside here. Those are neural connections, neural pathway connections
Yep.
that were mine at the moment. But if I am seeing the image, through my eyes in a different way, I am giving the pen and I will have a different answer, and I can take an action out there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
for example, for me right now is having one-on-one sessions.
Yep.
That's the answer. I
There
don't
you go.
know, what is going to happen after that.
Right, but you created the space for that to happen, for that potential,
Yes, for
and
that
that's what
potential to
that's what we're
arrive.
doing.
Mhm.
Exactly. Oh my
Yes.
goodness. So, Rosa Maria, if you had one gem to share with our viewers today, what would that be?
Um, just, I'm curious, if I invite you to create like this pedal. It's a very simple, you know, like image form. And then just, when you have time, you can put the timer and just for a minute be in an inquiry about what is the meaning for you of this pedal, and what action can you take and do, to support someone that is young, that is from the new generations. It can be a child, it can be a teenager, even for mental health. And I see that with the in some way the authority as a psychotherapist, you can impact the mental health of someone, through this. It is not only about like creating more potential, but really like creating recovery from sometimes very, very difficult situations. So
Mm.
just be curious, and if you want to connect with me, I guess that I will share a link
We
later
have, yep.
through Calendly, so we can have you just a 30-minute conversation. I don't like the word free, because I am sharing my whole self during that conversation. And it's like this gem from my heart to your heart that is like connecting. And let's see what can we create together, because right now I want to tailor sessions, like 10 sessions for a young person or even more. Who knows?
Well, thank you so much for that love offering, as I like to call it. So I hope that many who are
The
listening.
blooming, the blooming adventure. That's the name that I came with.
Oh, awesome, awesome. We will definitely be sharing that link
Okay,
in
thank you.
Facebook. So, wow, I can't find words adequate enough to thank you for all of your deep wisdom and all of the inspiration that you've provided to us, to me, the offer and your gift of love for anyone that wants to, you know, claim it for themselves in a way that they can be in activism for youth, and also for your collaborations with Musea so that we can
Hmm.
continue on this 500 year, plan that includes the youth in our future.
Of course.
Gracias, mi amor. Gracias, mi hermana,
Gracias,
con todo mi
Milagros.
corazón. All right. Well, stay with me. Stay with me.
Okay.
Um, just want to share some upcoming events, and we talked about them. And one of them is the Living the Truth Film Festival, which focuses on women, and it's happening this weekend in Sonoma. If you are in the area and you would like to attend, there's still an opportunity for you to buy and purchase tickets, even if you can't go to all of the events. So when you go on the page, you'll see the schedule, and even if you can't go to all of them, we would appreciate your support. It is also it is featuring um, 3 film screenings from, again, Pratibha Parma and Alice Walker. And also on that page, you'll have an invitation and an opportunity to join us on June 11th. On June 11th, for an all day, a day long experience where you will see some of the pre screening or some of the recordings of some of the activity from the festival, as well as conversations with Shiloh and Pratibha and Alice, and also an opportunity to paint your own poster of activism. And it is called it's yeah. So the it's called Arts for Justice. So that's a day long. So you can definitely join in and actually take action, like Rosamaria and I were talking about. Just because you're not at the function doesn't mean you can't still do something. You can't be in activism for yourself, for whatever matters to you most, for the children, for women of color, for women in general, for all genders, for all species, for the world. Whatever you're called to be in activism for, please consider joining us and make your stand and wave your wand.
Hmm.
We definitely want that. I also want to invite you. Shiloh actually shared a beautiful interview that she had with Alice Walker on YouTube. So we'll be sharing a link to that, and it's called Nurtured by Nature. I watched it this morning as my cafe, and oh my God, it's just so beautiful again to listen to this wisdom and how, she's been an impact to Shiloh and a part of this legacy called intentional creativity, and how important it was, again, because Shiloh had this as a youth. She's been able to create all this beautiful goodness
Yes.
and wonderful healing work and potential that we can all claim for ourselves so that we can make the future and the present better for all. Oh, Rosemaria.
Milagros.
Mm,
Milagros is miracle in English.
yes, it is. And I thank you for reminding me of the miracle that I am and that
Yes.
we all are, and the power that we have in our choice to
Hmm.
claim our piece of the red thread in our great work in the world. No matter how small or how big, any action matters. You matter, we matter, and our creativity matters.
Yes.
So thank you again for that gift. With that, we will leave you all, and we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming events. Also, if you'd like to join us and become a member, we will be sharing our link to membership, which starts at $10. And as you can see, this is one of the beautiful, beautiful um, programming that you will get, along with so many more gifts that actually make the membership pay for itself. Like the $10
Exactly.
is it goes a long way. It goes a long way.
Hmm.
So we look forward to
Hmm.
seeing you, and hopefully you'll also decide to join us for Legend and paint your own archetype of the future and share your legend with us. So with that, I send you my love.
I said,
Bye
my
for
love.
now.
Bye.